Are you superstitious? If you are, like this video or else your favorite team will draft a first-round bust. Now, if you're a fan of the Texans, Rams, Seahawks, Chiefs now at this point, and I believe there's one more team escaping my mind that doesn't have a first-round pick, you better like the video or else they're going to be going ahead and drafting a bust. Mitchell Renz here from Chat Sports. We're going to be breaking down the latest NFL news and rumors, and of course, we're going to be talking a lot about the 2021 NFL Draft because it's right around the corner. We're also going to be breaking some stuff down around free agency. We're going to talk about a quarterback potential extension and a top free agent still on the market. Let's get into the latest here around the New York Giants, and then could they potentially be trading back with the Chicago Bears? Bleacher Report wrote an article recently saying that, hey, these are some crazy moves that could end up happening in the 2021 NFL Draft, and the idea that they came up with was this. The Bears trading up with the Giants for a quarterback. Now, this scenario only happens if one of those top 5 quarterbacks ends up sliding down to pick number 11 where the Giants stand. Now, this would be good because the Giants, they can get some draft capital, right? The Bears, they can finally get a young quarterback and maybe hopefully go in the right direction. So here was the trade idea that Bleacher Report threw together. The Giants, they received number 20 overall pick this year, number 52 overall pick this year, a first-round pick in 2022, and a second-round pick in 2022. The Bears, they give up all that to go ahead and get number 11, which is probably going to be their franchise quarterback. I don't know if that's going to be Justin Fields. I don't know if that would be Trey Lance, Mac Jones. Maybe it's some other guy that they have in mind. But what I'm curious about and what we do here at Chat Sports is we ask difficult questions, and then we want you to go down in the comments and let us know how y'all are feeling. So with the trade that you guys see on screen right now, who do you think wins this trade? If you're sitting there saying the Chicago Bears win this trade, Mitch, I want you to type B for Bears. If you're going to sit there and tell me, you know what, I'm going to go with G for Giants. I'm going to sit here and tell you that the Giants clearly win that trade. When you look at the trade value chart, realistically, the Bears, all they'd have to give up is their first-round pick this year, a second-round pick this year, and then like a fifth or sixth. For them to give up another first-round and then another second-round pick, to me it tells me one thing and one thing only. The dude that wrote the article over the Bleacher Report had absolutely zero idea what the heck was going on. Or he was just really excited, and the Bears really trying to trade up there because, let's face it, it was a massive overpay. And if you're Chicago and your best quarterback that you've ever had in your entire franchise might be Jay Cutler, maybe you overpay. However, I don't really know if I want Dave Gettleman overpaying. I don't really know if I want Matt Nagy going ahead and picking another quarterback because it's been an absolute disaster. But now, a lot of other people are out there saying, Mitch, you do realize that Dave Gettleman has never traded down ever in any NFL draft. And I'm sitting there like, yeah, I got you covered. Now, here's what Gettleman had to say on potentially trading back. I've tried to trade back, but it's got to be value. I'm not getting fleeced. Well, if this is the trade that goes down, Dave Gettleman is the one fleecing the Chicago Bears. And it's also good for the Giants because I see right now their biggest need being an edge defender. And I like Jalen Phillips a lot. I like Azeez Ojulari, Kwity Paye. Now, Ronnie Perkins and Joseph Asai, they're more of like second-round type of prospects to me. But as much as I like Phillips, Ojulari, and Paye, if the Giants were to take one of those guys at number 11, that's a little early. Instead, if you could get them a little bit later on at pick 20, I'm liking that a lot. If you guys love the NFL Draft, don't miss out on our draft coverage this upcoming week. I'm telling you what, it's going to be a lot of fun here starting April 29th. I can't freaking wait. So go ahead and subscribe below. And if you're wondering, Mitch, why should I subscribe? Like, what do you guys do different? Well, first off, this is going to be the 4th year in a row that we are the #1 most watched NFL draft coverage on YouTube. We have a lot of analysis, like literally on every single pick. We play a game where if Tom doesn't know somebody, he has to drink to it. Speaking of that, we're going to have games. We're going to have prizes, live interaction. Over 60,000 people are going to be watching at one time, and it's 100% free. If you're a die-hard NFL fan and you want more coverage, go ahead and subscribe. It's youtube.com/chatsportstv. Let's now get into the latest around the Baltimore Ravens, and could they potentially be trading with the Atlanta Falcons? When I first saw this by Bleacher Report, I was like, wait a minute. I'm doing the math in my head. I'm like, Ravens, Falcons at pick 4? Not quite. So this scenario, the Falcons would trade up with the Ravens for a quarterback. The scenario involves Atlanta, okay, getting back into round 1. So when you look at all the draft picks here, Atlanta has pick number 35. The Ravens, they have pick number 31 because of the trade that they just recently did with Orlando Brown Jr. So if you're Baltimore, you're like, okay, I now have 2 first-round picks. Sure, they're a little bit later in the first round, but you can get a little bit more flexible here. So this is what Bleacher Report had to say on the Ravens trading back. The Ravens could be the perfect trade partner after acquiring the number 31 pick from the Kansas City Chiefs. And I don't know if they'd be the perfect trade partner, but I will say this. Anytime a team like the Ravens, who has been aggressive in the past, who has a pretty complete roster, if they feel like that they can add extra pieces, hey, I think they'd be all about it. So here's the trade idea that Bleacher Report decided to cook up. The Baltimore Ravens, they get that 2021 second-round pick, 35 overall. You also get a fourth-round pick, 108 overall, and then a 2022 third-round pick. The Falcons, they received that first-round pick that Baltimore got from Kansas City. So I'm going to ask you this question. Who wins this trade? And I want you to be 100% honest with me. I want you to go down in the comments, be an overachiever, and let me know why you're going to go with each side, because here in a little bit, I'm going to tell you who I think ends up winning this trade. So let me know. F for the Atlanta Falcons, or I want you to type R for the Baltimore Ravens. I'm going to sit here and say the Ravens win this trade, and maybe it's a little bit unfair for me to say that because, like, when you look at the overall value of that trade, I'll say this. I actually think that it's pretty fair, right? But for Baltimore, if you can just add a few extra picks, if you can get a little bit more draft capital, that's great. The biggest reason why I'm saying that they won the trade is because in Bleacher Report's idea, the Atlanta Falcons are trading up for Davis Mills. No disrespect to him out of Stanford. He has no business being a first-round quarterback. I don't even think he deserves to be a second-round quarterback. But you see it every year. One team falls in love with a guy, and he goes a lot earlier here. But as it stands right now, let's just say that trade, it doesn't happen. The Ravens, they have 2 first-round picks, no second-round picks, 2 third, 2 fourth, 2 fifth, a 6th, no 7th. When I see that much draft capital, and I see a team that knows what they're doing, especially in the draft like Baltimore, like you want to talk about over the last few years, which team has been the most, I'll say, dominant or most consistent team in having solid drafts, the Ravens are up there. So this is what I'm saying, man. I think the Ravens, they can be aggressive. So if they want to trade back, they can do it. If they want to take that package deal of 27 and 31, and if they want to go up and get one of those top receivers, let's say one of those top guys ends up falling down a little bit like Devonta Smith, I think that they can get aggressive and they can go up and get him. If they want to take an edge rusher, a tackle, they can 100% do it. So I'm going to look into my crystal ball here, and I'm going to make a prediction. I expect another Ravens trade. I don't know if it's going to happen on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and maybe it's going to happen on draft day itself. But with the amount of draft capital that this team has, and as much as they are wanting to compete in that tough division, I expect another Ravens trade. The Arizona Cardinals coming up here on today's show, and there's been a lot of discussion about Arizona selecting a cornerback in the first round of the 2021 NFL Draft. But here's my thing. Steve Keim, he's been really hyping up the wide receiver class, and today's story is around the Cardinals drafting a wide receiver. He straight up said that he believes up to 6 guys could go in round 1. When I look at Arizona, top to bottom, their biggest need to me is cornerback. However, what have I learned from Cliff Kingsbury? If he sees a wide receiver, if he feels like he can make that offense better, if he's going to go back to his Big 12 days, like he's really going to try to do it. When you look at the top wide receiver prospects, though, and you think about, okay, Arizona, they got pick number 16. I'd be shocked if Jamar Chase fell down. Jalen Waddle, I'd also be pretty surprised. Out of the top 3 players there, I think Devonta Smith might actually be the most likely to slide down to 16 due to the weight concerns, if you will. But also keep an eye on guys like Rashad Bateman and Kadarius Toney, at least being some other options. So here's what Keim said on the 2021 wide receiver class, which is basically the biggest reason why all these rumors here are swirling around the Arizona Cardinals and them taking a receiver. I think it's a really deep receiver class, and they all have different traits, especially those guys at the top. They're all different sizes. They have different skill sets, whether they can play X or Z or do some things for you in the return game. A couple of those guys have that skill set. I think there's probably going to be 5 or 6 guys that could potentially go in the first round. We've already seen that there could be as many as 3 go in the top 15 picks. So anytime that you see something like this, you're like, okay. However, I've done mock drafts. I've followed a lot of reports out there, and I'm a big believer that Arizona is going to go ahead and take a cornerback at pick number 16, maybe a J.C. Horn, maybe a Caleb Farley. I don't really think Patrick Surtain falls down there. So this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking with Arizona having pick number 49 in round 2, this is where Arizona fans should actually be looking at a potential pick at the wide receiver position. Kime went on to talk about 2 players most recently. The 2 players that he went into more depth on, like he talked about the top 3 guys. Everybody and their brother is going to talk about the top 3 guys. But he went into a little bit more depth on first on a guy named Rashad Bateman, wide receiver out of Minnesota, 6'2", 210 pounds, 36 catches last year, 472 yards, 2 touchdowns. Remember, a lot of these numbers are different because of, well, it was a COVID type of year. He also then goes to mention Kadarius Toney. And if you also notice my top 5 wide receiver prospects, Bateman was 4, Toney was 5. Toney, 6 foot, 193 pounds. He can't really be the number 1 receiver like I think Bateman could potentially be, but Toney could be a great slot receiver, a great underneath type of dude. 70 catches last year, 984 yards, 10 touchdowns, and when you got to just be a slot receiver next to A.J. Green and a DeAndre Hopkins, sometimes that's all you really need. So what do y'all think about this? Will the Cardinals draft a wide receiver in the first 2 rounds? I want you to give me a 1 for yes, or I want you to go down in the comments section, type 0 for no. If there's another receiver that you think could potentially make a little bit more sense in Arizona, hey, my ears, they're open. Let's get in now to the latest here around the Pittsburgh Steelers, and there's been a lot of talk about the NFL draft, but you know what? We're going to kick it over here to free agency, and when you look at one of the top players out there on the market, especially at the offensive line, it's former Pittsburgh Steeler Alejandro Villanueva. So what exactly is the latest on him? There is a report that Villanueva could sign with the Baltimore Ravens, and this is stemming with the whole Orlando Brown. They have a need there. The Ravens, though, they've come out and said that, hey, we are going to test all options at offensive tackle. Now, Villanueva has played left tackle basically his entire career for Pittsburgh, and right now they have Ronnie Stanley at left tackle, but Baltimore is confident enough that he actually would be able to play right tackle. So what it sounds like right now is he's likely going to have to sign somewhere, at least after the 2021 NFL Draft. Now, here's a pretty cool tweet that I saw from Justina Anderson that I wanted to give you guys a little bit more background of why exactly we're talking about this and why this could potentially impact the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Justina said on April 23rd, my understanding is currently there is optimism that the Ravens and offensive line Alejandro Villanueva can strike a deal, pending agreement on terms. Villanueva is viewed as being a flexible player to play right tackle for Baltimore with the flexibility to swing inside if need be or left tackle, depending on Ronnie Stanley's health. Now, there's been a little bit of an update, which is why I wanted to give you guys this here. So this is from Jamison Hensley. In regards to Villanueva, another source says that there is no expectation to signing with the Ravens. It's possible a deal could happen with Baltimore, but team is considering all options to replace Brown, including the draft. So let's just say this. What happens if the Baltimore Ravens, with pick 27, with pick 31, sure they don't have a second-round pick, but what happens if they take an offensive tackle? Then you don't have to worry about him potentially going to the Baltimore Ravens. So the reason why that I wanted to bring this up is because why would you not try to re-sign Big V? Like, this is one of those dudes out there that's been one of the most consistent players, not just on the Steelers, but in the entire National Football League. I mean, this man hasn't missed a game since 2015. So why not try to bring him back? Like, you're bringing back Ben Roethlisberger. If I'm Ben Roethlisberger, I want the guy who's been covering my blind side basically for the last 10 years almost. I mean, he's 6'9", 320 pounds. He's super consistent. Sure, he allowed 3 sacks last season, but even that's not that bad. He's been a top 5 tackle in the NFL, I believe, according to Pro Football Focus, the last 3 years. Like, this guy is super consistent. He's going to be able to teach a young team, and if you want to have a confident Ben Roethlisberger, which I'm sorry you didn't have at the end of last season, you got to figure out a way to bring this guy back. So what do y'all think about this? Where do you think his next team is going to be? If you're a Steelers fan, I think you should go ahead and type Pitt because you need to be able to figure out a way to get this guy back. The Ravens, I want you to type BAL, or if you think it's some other team, I want you to type O for other. When you look at the Steelers' offensive line, this should tell you basically everything you need to see. They need to figure out a way to get a left tackle because the only solid option on this line, or at least anybody that I would personally have confidence in, is probably DeCastro. If you guys disagree with me, if you made it this far in the video, please go ahead and give me a like. If you love the NFL, subscribe to Chat Sports for more free videos and turn on those notifications because when breaking news happens, we're going to be keeping you guys updated. Plus, what I want you guys to do is check out all of our amazing channels that we have here at Chat Sports. You're going to be able to see every single channel over here, all 16. The link is below. They're just going to circle on through. I'm not going to talk about every single one. What I want you to do is go check them out. And actually, I put every single link that you see on screen already in the comments, and I'm going to put it in the description as well. So if you're a fan of the Bears, the Seahawks, Eagles, Chiefs, Dolphins, there's no excuse whatsoever not to keep updated on your favorite team. If you like what we do here at Chat Sports, we're dropping just about a video every single day also on our Seahawks, Eagles, Chiefs, Dolphins channel. It's more of a in-depth look for the diehard fans for each and one of those teams. But here's the rule. At Chat Sports, the more a channel gets subscribers, the more videos we can do. So Detroit Lions talk, and then you see some of these other channels. They're a little bit smaller. It's okay. If you're a Broncos, Falcons, Browns fan, what I want you to do, take those links that you see below, send it to some friends. Let's get some people subscribed to those channels here. And we actually are continuing to launch even more channels here at Chat Sports, which is a mind-blowing thing to even think about. We just started, again, Browns, Cardinals, Giants, Ravens, Steelers. The more subs we get on those channels, the more videos we can do on those channels. So if you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe. If you're just a fan of Chat Sports and you want to go subscribe to those channels, we would really, really appreciate it because Chat Sports is absolutely kicking butt around here. We're working our tails off to make sure you guys are happy. And if you want any other channels, well, hey, go down in the comments and let me know. Should the Cleveland Browns extend Baker Mayfield and Denzel Ward? That's what we're talking about here on today's episode. But you know what? I'm going to make you get a little bit tough in here. I want you to pick only one to extend. Let's just say you can only extend one player. Would it be Baker Mayfield? I want you to type BM. Or if you think it's Denzel Ward, I want you to type DW. Now, the reason why we're talking about this is because Browns general manager Andrew Berry was talking about Baker and was talking about Denzel Ward and said both of those players have really done a nice job for us over the first 3 years. We view both of those guys as young players who continue to ascend, which I agree with. But the biggest reason why we're also talking about this is because both Baker Mayfield and Denzel Ward, the Browns decided to exercise their fifth-year option. So, with them exercising the option, that doesn't mean that they're 100% coming back. It also doesn't mean that they're going to let them go. But the bottom line is this, that still they're not 100% sold. So when you think about Baker Mayfield coming off, I'll say, the best year of his career, and I actually don't really think it's close. He got a lot of hype when he was a rookie, 27 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, but this past year, didn't light it up in terms of yards, but he played much more controlled football and didn't turn it over. As soon as he stopped turning the football over and started to realize that, damn, I got a hell of a defense and I got a hell of a running game, that's when they started to win football games. Also, Denzel Ward is also a very talented player. 46 tackles last year, 2 INTs, 18 pass breakups, only 24 years old. And I'll tell you what, I am really excited to see what Ward's going to be able to do because now he's got Myles Garrett. But if Jadeveon Clowney can get his shit together, then I'll tell you, Ward is going to be putting up some sick numbers. The other reason why this is kind of fun to talk about is because when I first saw it, I was like, wow, I forgot that both of these players were drafted in the top 4 of the 2018 NFL draft. And we were kind of joking around, producer Sam and I, about some of these players because, the Browns, Baker, and Denzel, that was good. Saquon's an incredible athlete, but got banged up with some injuries. Sam Darnold, he's already on a new team. And then Bradley Chubb, definitely a really, really good player. But at the end of the day, it's kind of hard to believe that the Browns at one point had, now that we're doing all this draft talk, 2 picks in the top 5. So here's why we're talking about this, because Mary Kate Cabot basically also goes on to say that, you have Baker, who's probably your face of your franchise, which might sound kind of weird. Also a former first-round pick in Denzel Ward. Mary Kay Cabot said that extension talks haven't begun yet. All right, well, I already showed you the quote talking about how both players are ascending players and how they want to kind of keep them around here, yet you're exercising the fifth-year option, and then also talks haven't begun. I will also say that I think talks haven't begun yet because their focus is on, well, the draft. After the draft, that's when the talks will usually happen. But get your votes in here. Should Cleveland extend both Mayfield and Denzel Ward? I want you to type Y for yes, or I want you to type N for no. When you look at Baker Mayfield's career, 46 games, 61.9% completion percentage, 11,115 yards, 75 touchdowns, 43 interceptions. Considering the fact that he's had a very good offensive line and plenty pieces around him, when you talk about the #1 overall pick, I do think you're expecting a little bit more. However, I think Baker and a lot of Browns fans would say, I'm not really worried about the numbers, I'm worried about the wins, and he showed he could win last year. Denzel Ward, 37 games. This is really, really impressive production. 143 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 40 pass breakups, 7 INTs. The issue with Ward has been he'll have the occasional injury, which will linger his success. It'll also linger his ability to actually be out on the football field. But when he's been out there, he has been a very productive player, a very good all-around type of corner. So in terms of do you extend both players, I'm going to say yes. You figure out a way to obviously bring back Ward. I think Ward's probably the better player at his position, but you always have to prioritize the quarterback, especially if Baker continues to win in one of the tougher divisions. The issue is this. I am not going to break the bank on Baker Mayfield. I don't care if he was a former #1 overall pick. I don't care if he wants a new deal like where all these top quarterbacks are. If Baker's asking for Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson type money, I'm just going to say, Baker, respectfully, I'm going to decline that. If you're going to say, okay, maybe around like the $28, $29, $30 million year range, which might sound crazy to some people, but it's probably going to be around what he makes. If you disagree with me, as always, let me know down in the comments section. I'm going to be looking.